Most men don't hear this truth until it's already too late. But here it is anyway. You are the prize, not her. That one line already set some of you off, and that reaction is exactly the issue. We're living in a time where many men have been conditioned, yes, conditioned, to think they must chase, prove themselves, beg, perform, and seek validation just to get the attention of a woman who may offer nothing beyond looks and entitlement. Somewhere along the line, the script flipped, and now even strong men feel like they're walking on eggshells inside their own relationships. I'm here to tell you that this isn't just wrong, it's dangerous. Here's a truth people rarely say out loud. She needs you more than you need her. Not because you're superior or because she's weak, but because in real attraction dynamics, value isn't only about beauty, it's about power. And as a man, you hold far more of that than you probably realize. Before you jump to defend what society has drilled into you, take a second and really think. When you're calm, focused, building your life, investing in your purpose, your goals, your finances, your health, who's more in demand? You are. A stable, confident, emotionally grounded man is rare. She knows it, and she craves it, whether she admits it or not. But here's what's happened to modern men. They've been disarmed. Disarmed by media, by romantic fantasies, by the idea that masculinity is toxic and leadership in relationships is oppressive. So now many men enter relationships hoping to be chosen instead of choosing wisely themselves. You've shifted from being a standard to being a servant, from a leader to a performer. Let's make something clear. A woman wants to admire her man. She wants to respect him, feel his presence without constant talking, sense his confidence without bragging, and feel protected without aggression. But the moment you act like she's doing you a favor by being with you, all of that disappears. You lose her attraction. She may stay, but the dynamic changes. Now you're the one begging emotionally, and she becomes the chooser. You react, she holds the power. And in relationship dynamics, power matters. Most men never learn this, and they pay for it. You see it everywhere, men anxious about being left, afraid to speak up, constantly wondering what she wants next. Men who give everything, only to be told it's still not enough. Why? Because they handed over their value from the start. Here's a hard truth. If she feels that you don't value yourself, she won't value you either. If you don't set the tone, she will, and odds are you won't like the result. Women test and challenge, not because they're malicious, but because they're wired to look for strength and stability. If you're emotionally unstable, always trying to please, agreeing with everything, and sacrificing your standards just to avoid conflict, you fail that test. But if you stay grounded, if you show that you choose her but don't need her, you pass. This isn't about being cold or arrogant. It's about understanding your worth. It's about shifting from needing her to stay to being okay if she leaves. That's when the dynamic flips. That's when she starts chasing you. Ask yourself this. Why do women often chase the men who seem least desperate for them? It's not just confidence, it's detachment. That energy that says, I want you, but I'll be fine either way. That calm sense of power sparks curiosity. That mystery draws her in. That discipline earns her respect. But the man who gives everything away immediately, the one who texts nonstop, gives gifts too early, cancels plans, and says things like, you're out of my league, he destroys attraction before it even begins. She doesn't want to be your mission. She wants to be part of a man who already has one. This isn't about attacking women, not even close. It's about waking men up from the lie that love requires losing yourself. It doesn't. Real love needs two strong individuals, but if one is weak, needy, and uncertain, that person will always suffer. So today, we're flipping the script. We're breaking down the psychology of power in relationships, how men lose it without realizing, how women respond to it, and how to take it back without becoming toxic, manipulative, or cold. Because again, she needs you more than you need her, and once that clicks, everything changes. 1. Stop chasing, start choosing. Let's get this straight. Chasing isn't masculine. Choosing is. If you want to shift the power dynamic in your relationships, you need to stop acting like a desperate hunter and start thinking like a king selecting a queen. This is where most men go wrong. They've been taught that they need to constantly earn a woman's approval. From a young age, boys are encouraged to impress, flatter, go above and beyond, and compete for attention like she's the ultimate prize. So they grow up believing that if they don't chase, they lose. But chasing immediately flips the power dynamic. When you chase, you're signaling one thing clearly. You're more valuable than me. I need your validation.
It may look romantic in movies, but in real life, it kills attraction and invites disrespect. Why? Because you position yourself as someone hoping to be chosen instead of someone who does the choosing. Women can feel this energy. They know when a man is trying too hard. They might enjoy the attention briefly, but interest fades quickly. You made yourself too available, too easy, and gave up your power before anything even started. Choosing is different. It's grounded. It's quiet confidence. It's seeing beauty, appreciating it, but not being controlled by it. A man who chooses evaluates. He doesn't chase. He observes, listens, and asks himself, does this woman align with my values, my mission, my peace? That energy is rare and attractive. It shifts the dynamic so that she leans in, because now she's the one being evaluated. Think about real life. The guy who seems least desperate is often the one she wants most, not because he's a jerk, but because he's not emotionally dependent. He's selective. He's in control. That creates magnetism. Picture two men at a party. The first sees a beautiful woman and immediately tries to impress, buying drinks, laughing at everything, complimenting nonstop. He gives her full attention within minutes. She smiles politely, but internally she's already losing interest. The second man notices her, but doesn't rush. He's calm, social, enjoying himself. When they finally talk, he's direct, asks meaningful questions, holds eye contact, and stays grounded. She's intrigued, not because he tried harder, but because he didn't. The first made her the mission. The second made her a possible addition to a life that already has direction. That's the difference. Don't throw away your value just because she's attractive. Your worth isn't defined by how many women you chase. It's defined by your focus, your discipline, and your ability to move with intention. When you chase, you lose your center. You become reactive. You hand over power before she's earned your attention. Choosing is power. It means you know what you want. You're not filling a void or seeking validation. You're building your life. And if she fits, great. If not, you keep moving. And here's the twist. When you stop chasing, the right women start choosing you because they see you're not desperate. You're not playing games. You're grounded in your value. So next time you feel the urge to over-pursue, ask yourself, am I chasing from fear or choosing from strength? Chasing says, I hope she wants me. Choosing says, let's see if she deserves my energy. That shift alone can change everything, and it starts now. 2. Attention is not love. Let's break a lie that's ruining how many men see relationships. Attention does not equal love. Too many men mistake small signs of interest for deep emotional investment. She texts back, laughs, flirts a bit, and suddenly you think she's the one. But attention is cheap. For some, it's just habit, not commitment. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Some women give attention just to keep you around, not because they truly want you, but because they like being wanted. That's not love. That's ego. If you don't recognize this early, you'll end up investing time, energy, and emotion into someone who gives you only small pieces of validation in return. You'll think you're building something real when you're actually just orbiting her. You meet her, things start strong, she's responsive, engaging, but then she pulls back. Replies slow down, she becomes distant. When you ask, she says she's busy or figuring things out. Now you're stuck in emotional limbo, attached but not committed. You chase that initial spark, thinking if you try harder, things will go back, but they don't because she was never fully in it. She gave attention, not commitment. That's why you need to distinguish between curiosity and investment. Attention feels good, but it's not a foundation. Real love is consistent. It shows up, it invests, it commits. Pay attention to consistency, not intensity. Anyone can come on strong early, but real interest remains steady even when things settle. A woman who genuinely values you won't disappear when you stop chasing. She'll keep showing up. So ask yourself, is she consistent or just convenient? Is she building with me or just keeping me around? Stop confusing attention with love. When you stop entertaining half-effort connections, you create space for something real. 3. Power shifts when you beg. This is something men feel but rarely admit. The moment you start begging for attention, time, or love, you lose power. You didn't start that way. You began confident, focused, grounded, but then maybe she pulled back, became distant, and you started adjusting, overcompensating, reaching. That's where the shift happens. Begging doesn't communicate love, it communicates need, and need in this context is seen as weakness. The more you push, the more she pulls away. Why? Because begging sends the message, I can't live without you, and that instantly lowers your value. Once she sees you're willing to beg, she knows she has control. She doesn't need to invest. She doesn't need consistency. She knows you'll stay regardless. That's how you lose yourself. But remember this, you had value before she came into your life, and you'll still have it if she leaves. Begging isn't attractive, it's desperation, and desperation doesn't bring people closer, it pushes them away. A man who knows his worth expresses himself once, sets a standard, and walks away if it's not met. A man who begs stays, over-explains, apologizes unnecessarily, and slowly teaches her not to respect him. When you beg, you're tolerated, not respected. The moment you realize this is the moment you take your power back. Stop chasing crumbs. Stop proving your worth. Stay grounded. Let your self-worth come from your purpose, not her reactions. 4. Emotional control builds attraction. Let's be honest, many men today struggle with emotional control, not because they feel too much, but because they let emotions drive their actions. A man who can't manage his emotions will lose, both in relationships and in life. This doesn't mean being emotionless, it means being centered. Women are drawn to men who can feel without falling apart, men who stay steady under pressure. That's real power. But a lot of men overreact, one unread message and they spiral, one disagreement and they argue just to win. That's not strength, that's immaturity. Emotional discipline matters. There's a difference between being authentic and being reactive. When you stay calm, when you don't snap, when you hold your...
If you're watching this video right now, I need to tell you something before anything else. What I'm about to reveal to you in the next few minutes has the power to completely transform how you see women, relationships, and even your own life. It's not an exaggeration. It's not clickbait. It's a reality that, until now, no one has dared to tell you clearly. And the most impressive thing is that all of this was written more than 500 years ago by one of the greatest strategists who ever lived. I'm talking about Niccolo Machiavelli, the author of The Prince, a man who understood human nature, power, manipulation, and the invisible games people play without us realizing it like few others. And before you think this is just old theory, I guarantee you what Machiavelli wrote fits perfectly into the current world, especially when the subject is female behavior and the secrets that many keep under lock and key. So, stay with me until the end of this video. Don't skip any part, because each secret I'm going to share here is more impactful than the last, and the last one will truly surprise you, believe me. But before we begin, I want to ask you something simple. Comment below the city where you're watching from. I want to know where the people who follow the channel are from. If it's Sao Paulo, Rio, Minas, Northeast, South, leave it in the comments. And take the opportunity to like the video, because that really helps it reach other people who also need to hear this. Now, let's get straight to the point. Let's start with the first secret, and it's the foundation of everything. If you don't understand this, nothing else will make sense. Machiavelli said that everyone sees what you appear to be, but few perceive what you really are. And this fits perfectly with relationships. Appearance and perception dominate the game. The first secret is simple. They test you all the time. And it's not an occasional test. It's a constant, continuous system that begins the exact moment she meets you. When a woman interacts with you, she's not just having a conversation. She's observing every detail. Your words, your gestures, your reactions. She notices how you treat the waiter, whether you hold eye contact, whether you maintain your position or give in easily. And all of this happens so subtly that most men don't even realize it. They think it's just a normal conversation, when in reality, they're being evaluated the entire time. Machiavelli said that an intelligent leader needs to identify traps before falling into them. And in relationships, these tests work exactly like that. She might provoke you to see your reaction. She might take a long time to respond to messages to observe your behavior. She might mention another man just to gauge your emotional security. And the worst part? Most men fail these tests because no one ever taught them that they exist. They grew up believing that it's enough to be nice and pleasing. But when you give in too much, when you show neediness or insecurity, respect disappears. It's not malice, it's human nature. Machiavelli already said, it's better to be respected than merely loved if you can't be both. In relationships, this means being firm. It's not about being rude, but about knowing how to say no, maintaining your values, and not molding yourself just to please. When you stand firm in the face of tests, something changes. She begins to truly respect you. And that's where real attraction is born. Think about it. If you were a leader, someone with purpose, would you abandon everything because a woman snapped her fingers? Of course not. And that's exactly what she wants to see. That you have your own life, direction, and structure. So remember this. She tests you all the time, and your reaction defines how she will see you. Now let's move on to the second secret, and this one might bother a lot of people. Machiavelli wrote that people are so naive and guided by the needs of the moment that there will always be someone willing to be deceived. The second secret is, she will never tell you what truly attracts her. If you ask, you'll hear nice answers. A caring, attentive, present guy who sends good morning messages and does everything for her. But observe who she actually gets involved with. Most of the time, they are confident, challenging men who don't beg for attention.
This isn't hypocrisy. Often she doesn't even fully understand what attracts her. There's a huge difference between what someone says they want and what truly awakens desire. Machiavelli already understood this. People say one thing and do another. Those who only believe the words get frustrated. That's why so many perfect guys end up in the friend zone. They do everything right on paper, but they don't spark attraction. Meanwhile, the guy who has his own life, who isn't always available, ends up being chosen. Attraction isn't logic. It's not a formula of kindness plus effort equals love. What attracts is a mix of security, purpose, mystery, and challenge. It's the man who doesn't reveal himself completely right away. Machiavelli talked about not showing all your cards, and that applies here too. When you open up too much right at the beginning, you eliminate the mystery. And without mystery, there's no curiosity. Without curiosity, interest disappears. So the second secret is clear. Observe actions, not words. Attraction is emotional, not rational. If this makes sense to you, share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Now let's move on to the third secret, perhaps the hardest to accept. Machiavelli said that to master fortune, you must face it boldly. The third secret is, she doesn't want a man who agrees with everything. This goes against what you've been taught. You've been conditioned to avoid conflict, to always agree. But a woman of value doesn't respect a man without his own opinion. This doesn't mean arguing about everything. It means having a stance, conviction, and the courage to disagree respectfully. When you agree just to please her, she notices and loses attraction. Lack of authenticity destroys any connection. Machiavelli said that a leader cannot please everyone, and the same goes for relationships. Healthy disagreement generates respect. When you express your opinion calmly and firmly, she sees you as a real man, not as someone who is acting. And more, remaining calm when disagreeing demonstrates emotional maturity, something extremely attractive. Compare that to the guy who agrees with everything, laughs at everything, pretends to be someone he's not. The choice is obvious. People value authenticity. A man with a stance conveys strength, and strength attracts. Remember this, she doesn't want an echo. She wants someone who thinks for himself. Now let's move on to the fourth secret. This involves an emotional game that many women use consciously or unconsciously. Machiavelli said that those who want to deceive always find those who allow themselves to be deceived. The fourth secret is, emotions can be used as a tool of power. It's not a generalization, but many women learn early on that emotions influence decisions. She cries, you give in. She pulls away, you chase after her. She threatens to leave, you beg. This happens all the time. Emotion reduces your ability to think clearly. And when you act based on the fear of losing, you lose control. Machiavelli taught to keep a cool head. When she tries to destabilize you, don't react impulsively. Pause, analyze, think. This isn't coldness, it's control. When she realizes she can't manipulate you emotionally, respect increases. And more, you begin to differentiate between real emotion and emotional strategy. Not everything is manipulation, but without control, everything seems urgent. So the fourth secret is this: understand the emotional game or you will be controlled by it. Now let's move on to the fifth and final secret, and this is the most powerful. Machiavelli said that to initiate a new order is one of the most difficult tasks. The fifth secret is, no woman will complete you. This breaks the entire romantic narrative you've learned. There is no such thing as a better half. No relationship will fill an inner void. The man who seeks someone to complete him starts at a disadvantage, because he starts from a place of neediness, and neediness pushes people away. When you need her, you transmit dependence. When you choose to be with her, you transmit value. The difference between needing and wanting changes everything. The complete man lives well alone and chooses to share, not depend. The dependent man, however, places the responsibility for his happiness on her, and that's a burden no one can bear. Machiavelli said that whoever depends on luck is lost when it changes. In relationships, it's the same. If you depend on her, you crumble when she leaves. The path is to build a solid life on your own. Purpose, growth, direction. And when you do that, something curious happens. You become more attractive. The less you need, the more you are desired. That's real power. So this last secret is liberating. No one will complete you. You need to be whole first. Now to recap. First, she constantly tests you. Second, she doesn't reveal what truly attracts her. Third, she doesn't want someone who agrees with everything. Fourth, emotions can be used as power. Fifth, no woman will complete you. Machiavelli wrote this centuries ago, but it remains relevant because human nature doesn't change. The goal isn't manipulation, it's understanding the game. When you understand, you stop being a pawn and become a player. Now tell me, which of these secrets impacted you the most? Comment below and don't forget to mention your city. If this content helped you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Knowledge is power, and sharing is multiplying. Use this responsibly.